Troy from Kaysville has a question about the executive branch. Troy, you're on the line with Senator Lee.
Hi, Troy.
Yeah, I'm wondering why has it that seems like Congress doesn't.
Troy, you still there? All right, let me, while we're looking for Troy, jump back on if you can hear me and if we can still hear you. Let me try to answer what I suspect might have been your question based on what little you were able to get out before you got cut off. I think you were about to ask a question about the executive branch doing too much without pushback by Congress. This is a long-standing problem, a problem that comes up with some regularity. Troy, in my office in Washington, I keep 2 stacks of documents. One stack is just a few inches tall and it's only a few hundred pages long. It consists of the laws passed by Congress last year. The other stack is 11 feet tall, it's 80,000 pages long, and it consists of new regulations issued by executive branch agencies last year in a compiled document set called the Federal Register. And so frequently, Troy, for every 1 page of law that we make, executive branch agencies, federal bureaucrats issue 100 pages of new law. This is troubling on many levels, including and especially because of the fact that Article 1, Section 1, Clause 1 of the Constitution says that all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. That means we're supposed to make the law. The power to make law doesn't include the power to delegate to someone else the task of lawmaking. But that is, in fact, what Congress has done. It's done it over and over and over again, many hundreds of times over the last 7 or 8 decades. As a result, most of our laws these days, measured by volume, measured by word count, measured by weight, measured by economic impact, measured by almost any metric conceivable, are now made by the executive branch of government. Why, you may ask, doesn't Congress do anything about it? Why, you may ask, would Congress voluntarily relinquish that much power and give it to someone else? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that members of Congress like this arrangement. Oddly, they like giving up power. Oddly, they continue to do this even though it makes Congress less and less significant. And the reason is that this allows members of Congress to avoid accountability for the difficult line drawing decisions that are inevitably involved in the difficult task of making law. So we'll pass a law that says, for example, we shall have clean air, and we delegate to the EPA the task of identifying what clean air is, defining what pollution is, and prescribing the penalties that await those who pollute the air. This is a great task to clean up the air, but Congress, as the lawmaking body, needs to supply the details rather than just delegate out to someone else the task of filling in the details themselves. This is one of the reasons why Congress has become less significant over the years, is because individual members of Congress find that it's easier to attain re-election over and over and over again if they don't actually have to make any difficult decisions, if they don't actually have to engage in the difficult line drawing activity that is necessarily involved in the lawmaking process. There is a way to turn this around, and it involves passing legislative reforms like the REINS Act. The REINS Act is a bill. REINS stands for Regulations from the Executive in Need of Scrutiny. I'm an original co-sponsor of the REINS Act in the Senate, and the REINS Act says that any time the executive branch issues a new major rule regulation, one that has a significant economic impact on the country, then that new regulation, that new law produced by an executive branch bureaucracy, can't become law unless Congress first affirmatively enacts it into law. In other words, it'd be treated as a fast-track legislative proposal voted on by the House of Representatives and by the Senate. And if it's passed into law by the House of Representatives and by the Senate and is signed into law by the President, it can take effect. But short of that, it wouldn't be able to take effect. This is the best thing we could do, perhaps the only thing Congress could do, to take back its power under the Constitution. And the reason that's important, Troy, is not just because Congress needs to be making the law, but when Congress is accountable, when Congress does what it's supposed to do, you, the voters, can hold us accountable. You, the voters, are empowered. You, the voters, become more powerful than the government. That's why it matters. That's why we need to pass the REINS Act.
All right, just want to remind everyone, if you're on the phone, to press *3 to ask a question, and if you're online, use the hashtag #LeeTownHall. And we actually have Troy back on the line from Kaysville.
Okay, well, we'll see whether I accurately answered his question.
Troy, you're on the line with Senator Lee.
Hello, Troy.
Yeah. Hi, Senator. I appreciate you taking the time, and you actually did answer that perfectly, so I appreciate that explanation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's good to know. I wasn't sure that's what you were asking, but I'm glad to hear it. Well, thank you for calling in.